Yes. For me, like Shira said that some of us who attended virtually, you remember Mumbai, these meetings were a little bit very early in the morning, so you'd wake up like at 4, to set your machine and so on and get into the sessions. But I want to welcome back everyone from ICANN 85, and thank you so much for the Ugandan community that represented Uganda. Um, uh, Personally, if I look at a few of the aspects I put my interest to, I think I'll dwell on two. One of them was on um, the status of the application of the next round of new gTLDs. I attended a couple of those sessions. And then the other one that was very critical for me during ICANN meetings, there's what we call the AFRALO. There's a session of AFRALO meetings. Also, this is basically a meeting of the African region. We discuss our setbacks, our contributions, our achievements with ICANN, and we do that through what we call as a policy statement. And particularly for this meeting, the policy statement was drafted by Fellows. And I remember Cliff was one of the pen holders. I saw quite active engagement from our representative together with Doreen. I attended that meeting, though it was a little bit very early in the morning. But this was a session that had a statement put together by different fellows who have been through who have been through the fellowship community. And remember, most of us, if not all of us, get through this space through such windows like fellowship and so on. It's where you're introduced into the space, then you discuss different policies, you look into different angles of the community. You remember, for someone who's starting to engage into ICANN space, it is very complex. I mean, it is very hard to navigate. So you have to take bit by bit, take those baby steps so that you learn right from learning and then you engage several. I'm sure even people who have been into ICANN for almost 5 years, they will tell you that I'm still learning here and there. So when the fellows came together, they put up a statement and we were very, very excited about how much ICANN has contributed to the African region through the fellowship program. And remember, too much focus is put on our region. And if I'm not mistaken, the most times the biggest percentage comes from the African region of fellows. So that is a tick to ICANN. Um, and I'm sure even for ICANN 86, there's a call for another statement coming through. Those who are who are at the mailing list can actually join the team and be part of the pen holders of drafting a policy. And for us, we believe that this is the only way our voices can be heard in ICANN. Remember, these ICANN readouts in perspective of the communities you're from. For example, here in Uganda, we would assume that the ICANN 85 readout, like for this case, is particularly in line with our perspective as a country, as Uganda. So when we have some of us contributing to these policy statements, we are indirectly airing out our concerns as a country. So that is one of the key aspects of the ICANN 85 that was very critical for me. Then going back to the the update of the next round. Um, I remember ICANN 84. I talked about this. I gave how and I gave from start to at that time the status, the update of the implementation phase of the next round. And at ICANN 85, want to congratulate ICANN. I think the whole implementation phase is now complete and it's now execution level. It was scheduled to be done, the applications to start 30th April, which is actually this month, and everything has been on time. So we're looking forward to seeing the different applications and how to resolve different resolutions, how the internet is going to explode, because the next round is one of the biggest milestones of ICANN, expanding the DNS. I don't want to go into those details, but here when ICANN talks about the next round, they're ideally expanding the DNS, and that is increasing the effectiveness of the internet consumption, usage, and all that. So we're also looking forward to how it is going to be juggled, because during the meetings, people are giving a couple of scenarios. For example, those who are familiar with I will not go into details, but those who are familiar with what is involved in the next round, we have ideal expansion of DNS, the domain names and so on, having a couple of them unlimited. And that's why that is the reason why we have too much focus on universal acceptance, because universal acceptance is a component that is going to enable the effectiveness of the next round, where we have issues of the internationalized domain names. Those can't work without working on the concept of universal acceptance. And Uganda DNS Forum has been very, very vocal on the issue, on the concept of universal acceptance, and I want to congratulate us for how much we've put in. I've been reading reports, and I've been, when you talk to a couple of people from the community, they will tell you about Uganda DNS Forum. So please, I want to encourage us to keep it up, to throw more effort into how we can make sure that internet, on a Ugandan perspective, is very effective. So going back to what I'm trying to say is, under the next round, we had some light talk, and people are giving how we shall have some of the issues resolved. For example, people are saying that, for example, if you have I'll quote this, if you have an example of two applicants, and one of them wants, for example, to say, I want a domain name, like, for example, .Allan. And then another person also comes up from Russia and says, I want .Allan. How is that resolved? And ICANN was responding that it's going to be first come, first served, things like that. Then also, there was an issue of there are some names already reserved names. For example, you can't use .Amazon, that has already been reserved. So it was a very interesting discussion, it is something that someone in the space, especially in the DNS angle, would be very quite pleased to look at how it is going to, manifest. But I'm very glad the next round is taking off. It's now execution. Applications have opened. Remember, it is a very expensive process. Application is very expensive, but of course, there was also support provided. And during the ICANN 84, I'd given a brief background of how that applicant support program also was run, how many of the Africans organizations, communities participated, and it's quite a big number, I think about 7, and which is encouraging. I'm not sure how many we have from Uganda, but Shira and the rest of the people on call, I'm sure Kenya, like we highlighted in the previous readout, Kenya and a few countries are very vocal. So for our country, I'm not sure how many of us are engaging into this, but these are opportunities that we can tap into, because without them, you cannot never effectively manage the DNS. I mean, you can't effectively command how we use the internet, how effective the internet is going to be without taking advantage of these few resources that ICANN provides. So I'm looking forward to ICANN 86, what is coming up after implementation in the angle of the new gTLDs next round, and as well as the AFRALO statements. I also follow the universal acceptance meetings, but a couple of speakers have spoken to that, including Cliff. So that I may not throw too much light into, but the whole ICANN meetings are very, very exciting. Even when you virtually, you have that engagement here and there, people on site. It is a fascinating experience for everyone. And I want to encourage everyone to always join in, no matter whether you're on site or you're joining virtually. Like Shira said, people joining virtually actually have that slight advantage that you can switch from session to session, unlike people who are, especially if you join as a fellow, there are some dictated sessions you'd want to, you'd want to attend, and yet you personal as an individual, probably you had a few sessions you want to join, but because of the mandate, I mean the regulations of the fellowship program and the guidelines, you miss out on some few. So I want to encourage everyone to attend, we engage into these discussions, we learn more. Please, thank you so much for these capacity building sessions, because this readout is also one of the capacity building session, so that we see how, we can expand the internet, how the usage of the internet is being expanded. And particularly for me, I'm more passionate about our context as a country. Yeah? I don't want us to lag behind, because you see, when you attend these meetings and your contribution from your country is very minimal, there's ideally you feel like, I'm in a space of giants. If you look at our neighbors, I don't want to compare countries, but here, if you look at Kenya, the West Africa, Nigeria, and so on, when they step into the room, a guy is coming from a very strong community. So how about as Uganda, we also build a very strong community. The support is always there. We have all people here, I'm sure, right from Shira, Yasmin, Doreen, David. You guys, please, let's push how this conversation can be shaped in all different angles. We're just people who are passionate about the internet. For me, anything about the internet, I will drop whatever I'm doing and jump in and contribute. Thank you so much, and still welcome back everyone from ICANN 85. Back to you, Shira.